Broadcasting from the Mackinac Policy Conference on Mackinac Island, this is The Metro. I'm Kerry Jr. II, in for Tia Graham.
And I'm Robin Vincent. Today on the program, college costs are soaring and AI is threatening jobs. So is the future in trades?
Plus, Senator Gary Peters is retiring. But first, he's reflecting on his work protecting the Great Lakes, veterans, and Michigan's economy.
We'll also ask Senator Peters what Democrats need to do to regain public confidence and political power. But first, Enbridge's Line 5 oil pipeline cuts beneath the Great Lakes, stretching over 600 miles and crossing beneath the Straits of Mackinac. For decades, the pipeline has raised concerns because of its potential to spill oil and contaminate water for millions of Americans. This water is also a source of sustenance, culture, and sovereignty for tribal communities. Now, Enbridge has a proposal on the table to build a new oil tunnel to replace a section of Line 5. The oil and gas company says this will address aging infrastructure. An executive order from the Trump administration could expedite the construction of this project. But advocates argue that the construction of this new oil tunnel and potential leaks from it pose many threats, especially to tribal fishing rights and livelihoods. Andrea Pierce is a member of the Little Traverse Bay Bands of Odawa Indians. She's also policy director at Michigan Environmental Justice Coalition. She joined me on the shores of Mackinac Island ahead of a rally today protesting the proposed oil tunnel.
I'm going to introduce myself in my language. So, Wasno de Kway Indishnakas, Wakanaka Singodawa Nadojaba, Makwa Nadodam. So what I just said was that I'm the Northern Lights woman. I'm from Little Traverse Bay Band of Odawa Indians. It's Wakanaka Singodawa, which is the land of the crooked tree. And I'm Bear Clan. So my job is to protect the forest. And I do believe that protecting the water is part of protecting the forest because we need the lakes, rivers, and streams to keep the forest thriving.
Thank you for speaking to us in your native language, Andrea, and thank you for touching on something that we will go into more depth about, and that is the protector role that you feel you must take on right now in this moment. But first, Andrea, we've seen massive environmental incidents in Michigan before. I'm thinking about the Kalamazoo River oil spill and the Edenville Dam failure. Line 5 itself hasn't yet had a major spill in the Straits of Mackinac. And we're listening right now to the beautiful sounds of water from the Straits of Mackinac. But it has experienced multiple smaller leaks along its length elsewhere. And those have raised a lot of concerns about its safety. Could you talk about that?
There's been a lot of leaks on Line 5 throughout the beginning to the end. We've been lucky so far that it hasn't happened in the Straits of Mackinac, including, 2018 when there was an anchor strike. And there's been other chances where we could have lost this too, and other times when there's possible anchor strikes. And the anchor strikes are really scary because this is a no anchor zone. So why are there even anchors out here? They're supposed to be up throughout the Straits of Mackinac because of the pipelines and because of the detriment to the water. So that's something that's terrifying, that not only are we worrying about Line 5 breaking at any possible moment, but that the anchor strikes from the ships going by could also cause a devastation of monumental concern. Oh my gosh, just thinking about it is terrifying. When Kalamazoo spilled, I remember that it was I was on Facebook, and it said it's a spill, and then they kept pumping it more. They didn't follow their policies. They didn't follow the procedures of what to do when the pressure drops. Instead, they pump more. For 17 hours, they pump more, trying to recoup that loss there because they didn't realize it spilled. And then the community, what we did, everybody was like trying to save the animals and donating Dawn dish soap to help the animals, and people were trying to, capture them. And there was like volunteer lists of people, of regular people to help feed the people who were doing the work, the vets, ever coming in. There was a lot of different organizations were racing to help, with the Kalamazoo oil spill. And then all of a sudden, this big fence went up around it, and Enbridge said, "We've got this." And they took care of it, allegedly. They got their fines. They cleaned it, allegedly. It's still squishy and smells out there, and you can still see a sheen on the Kalamazoo River. It'll never be back to normal. It'll never come back to what it was before that oil spill. And if you look out here and you see all of this beautiful water and you think this could happen here at any time, day, night, summer, winter, spring, or fall, we are living under a threat of terror. To me, it's terrorism. This is terrorism. When I'm sitting here worried about what's going to happen to our 20% of the world's fresh water because of a Canadian corporation and their greed.
Andrea, what proponents of Line 5 say, though, is that if we don't get this oil, if we don't get this energy from Canada, we won't be able to continue producing at the rate that's needed to keep our economy going. With that added production and money, they say we can do things like fund education and recreational parks and state parks and public transit. What do you make of that argument?
I think it's all BS and lies. If they were going to invest in our education and our parks and everything, they would have done it already. And not to mention that if we need it up here in the UP so bad, why are they transporting it south and exporting it to Canada? If it's that important to the U.S. that it's detrimental, we're going to die without it, and it's so important to us, why are they shipping it south?
Now, Governor Whitmer promised early in her administration to shut down Line 5. How do you assess her administration's progress on this issue so far?
She said on the first day she walked in the office, she was going to put down her purse and shut down Line 5. May 19th, what was it, 2021 was it? That she pulled the easement and made them operating illegally, and it's still pumping. What has changed? Are they being assessed money for this? What's changed, really? There's a lawsuit. Took her forever just to join into it. I think she's doing enough to keep us quiet, but she's after the job. She's after the money. She's not looking out for the environment. She has passed a lot of things, a lot of bills she has signed and has pushed through. The data centers coming through Michigan on our brownfields. That's horrible. Our cities don't need this. There's not going to be enough jobs to do anything to protect us, to help us. It does not offset the danger that we're being put into.
Andrea, as you talk about the potential for an oil spill, and I look out onto this gorgeous water as we sit here on Mackinac Island, and we're hearing the sounds of seagulls piercing the air and the light sounds of waves crashing onto the shore. They were a little thunderous earlier, and it makes me think about what you said about being a water protector. And I wonder if you can talk about, as a Native American, why that role is so close to your identity.
It is. Being a water protector, it's Anishinaabe. I'm a Native American woman. And I'm trying to make sure that we still have this beautiful, clean, safe drinking water for the future generations. That's what I'm working for. I can sit here and say, oh, I can do this for me, but it's not. It's for the 7 generations past me. My grandkids. I wanted them to be able to fish, hunt, gather. I want them to have the same treaty rights that we have. I want them to be able to walk out into the wilderness. I've been camping all week. I want them to be able to camp all week and feel safe and protected on their own tribal lands, and knowing that this is okay. This is perfect. This is what their great-great-great-great-grandmother fought for. We were sitting in this little lake by the campground, and you see these eagles flying around, and they're grabbing the fish, and that's part of the circle of life. That's all part of it. And nowhere in this circle of life does it show us being killed or losing our water to a Canadian corporation. I'm also chair and founder of the Anishinaabe Caucus in the Michigan Democratic Party. So we've been trying to pass bills. We're trying to get good candidates running and endorsed that will help us to protect our water and our environment and our future for our children and grandchildren. That was part of why we did that, was created. When we went to the Democratic Convention supporting Whitmer and Dana Nessel, we found out we didn't have a caucus. So we created one in the Democratic Party for Native rights.
The idea of representation in politics and how much that matters when it comes to marginalized communities, I think it really crystallized for a lot of us when Deb Haaland became Secretary of the Interior. And the moves that she was making were swift, and they were so much with tribal people in mind. Could you briefly talk about what that was like for you to see a Native woman take this kind of high position in the president's cabinet, former President Biden?
Yeah. Oh, that was an amazing time. We worked hard. Michigan worked hard to get Deb her votes here. And the Anishinaabe caucus, we called and messaged Senator Stabenow and Peters until they said they would vote for her, and I got the letters and sent it to her. She's like, yay! She was happy. And when she got in, she brought in also Brian Newland from Bay Mills Indian community. He was working with her, and it was so good to have her there and have Brian here, working with her, knowing that he knew what we're fighting for here and what we're trying to do. And he's such a good person and with a good heart. And it just felt so good to have Native representation for us. I mean, it was the first time ever the Department of Interior recognizes and protects us. So it has never had a Native person there before protecting us or looking out for us or writing bills or taking care of us. That was huge. And I hope one day to see that happen again. And I hear she's running for governor of New Mexico.
That's right.
If she wins, she'll be the first Native American governor in the United States that won an election. Yeah. Isn't that crazy?
I mean, it doesn't sound right, does it?
No. Now when you consider that we were here first and these are our lands and we've been pushed back so far that we're just now starting to catch up.
Before we have to go, because we have run out of time, we have to go back to line 5 very quickly. If the project moves forward, despite tribal and environmental opposition, what's next for tribes?
What's next is that the people will come. I have repeatedly said to everybody who's making these decisions that I talk to, that when it passes, that we get this stupid tunnel that we do not need, that we will have a camp here. You watch, it will come. The people will come and we will fight for our lands and we will protect our water the best way that we can. We will have a standing rock right here in Michigan. I don't want that to happen. I want our legislators to see that this is a bad deal for Michigan and make it better for our people, not put us in danger.
I want to tie up a loose end here because we were just talking about Native representation in politics. Now we're back to talking about line 5. Do you see more Native representation in politics as the answer to stopping projects like this new oil tunnel being proposed for line 5? Is that part of the pathway forward?
It would be, but I don't think that we can do that in this, with the way the government is now. I don't think that the felon in the White House is going to allow us representation. I don't think that we're going to... It's all about the money with them. It really is. They're looking at the money, money, money.
But on the state level, on the local level, more Native representation...
would be wonderful. It would help a lot if we had more Native Americans, Anishinaabe people, the Odawa, the Chippewa, the Potawatomi. If we all got together and started running for offices and trying to do things in a good way with thinking of our 7 grandfather teachings and trying to think of our 7 generations, doing it with a good heart and running for office and helping people run for office, we could change this. The caucus has done a lot of work. We've done a lot. Last session, we got the Monoman bill passed, so we've got Monoman is named as wild rice. So it's Michigan's first and only native grain. Actually, that was throughout the United States the first native grain. We also passed the regalia bill, K through 12. Children can wear the regalia when they graduate. That didn't happen before.
And some people might hear these policy changes and they might not understand the significance of them. Talk about, in as briefly as you could in the last 30 seconds that we have, the significance of passing policies like this.
Because they matter to us, the Anishinaabe people of these lands. That's what's important. When we hear we can wear our regalia, we can wear an eagle feather and graduate. We couldn't do that before. We would get discriminated against. People would cut our feathers off of our caps. We were one of the lowest people, lowest statistics to be able to graduate. And then when we do graduate, we're dictated on how we can graduate. So now we're putting a stop to that and say, no, we need to graduate in ways that matter to us.
Andrea Pierce, thank you so much for joining us on the Metro today and joining me out here to stare at the beautiful waters along Mackinac Island.
And just know, I want to really thank you for inviting me. I really appreciate being able to speak about the water and the harm that could happen here. But just know, looking out here, this is why we fight. This is why we care so much. Miigwech and Bamapi.
That was my conversation along the shores of Lake Huron here on Mackinac Island with Andrea Pierce. She's a member of the Little Traverse Bay Bands of Odawa Indians. She's also policy director at Michigan Environmental Justice Coalition and chair of the Anishinaabe Caucus of the Michigan Democratic Party. She's helping to lead a rally today protesting a plan for a new oil tunnel to replace a section of Enbridge's Line 5. That rally happens ahead of Governor Whitmer's address on Mackinac Island today. And we should note that Andrea mentioned the Kalamazoo oil spill during our conversation. For context, in July of 2010, Enbridge Energy's pipeline broke, becoming the biggest inland oil spill in U.S. history. Coming up, there are big debates about whether we should be investing more in higher education or the skilled trades, especially as college gets more expensive. We'll hear from someone who believes the trades remain really important to folks in Michigan and to people across the country. We'll be right back here on the Metro, broadcasting live from the Mackinac Policy Conference. Stay with us.